After the recent patch 1.13, we received significant buffs and nerfs to a ton of DLC spells, so this is the perfect time to showcase an up-to-date tier list, ranking the top 20 best new spells. Now that includes sorceries and incantations, both of them, okay? So this is the ultimate ranking to find out what is the true god tier of spells after patch 1.13. Starting off with A tier. Divine Beast Tornado. Thank God this received a solid buff. They increased the attack power, but most importantly, enemies hit by the tornado will now be launched upwards. Yes sir, they get their ass sprung. A proper response from a giant charging tornado. What I seriously dislike though, what I just fucking makes me so mad, is how it is not viable up close. Like, it is trash if the enemy charges you. If they gave you decent hyper armor and gave the spell a hitbox while you were charging it up, then it would be awesome. And there's no reason why the beginning part of this spell can't hit or stagger the enemy. I mean, that's it. That's all you need, but tragically, it does not. Therefore, it's only truly effective as a long-distance attack. Now that's the reason why this spell receives a somewhat low ranking. Impenetrable Thorns. For the past 2 years, everyone always said, oh, thorn sorceries are doo-doo. Well, Miyazaki said, oh yeah? Y'all wanna shit on my precious thorn spells? Okay, I'll show you. And thus, Impenetrable Thorns was born, and it was devastating. Dozens of build videos popping up on YouTube, guaranteeing even the scrubbiest of noobs can destroy DLC bosses with this spell. However, we continue to flap our gums, them creators continue to post videos, and it forced From Software's hand. And they nerfed it. They decreased the damage as well as the blood loss drastically. It still deals okay damage, but when before it could consistently proc bleed over and over, to now where it barely procs bleed even if you connect all 3 strikes. From about 600 bleed buildup to now under 200 blood loss in total. The king has fallen, my friends. Now, though the Blood Mage is indeed still viable, it's more of a specialty build now, considering it requires faith. So you need a solid intelligence, high faith, and a high arcane, all in order to make it super powerful, because it does indeed still have potential to be extremely effective. You just need a ton of stats and the correct specific equipment. So it's just a mess, a big mess. The Blood Mage has been shunned from God tier all the way back down to B tier, just as it was before. Mass of Putrescence. Look at that. It's described as Ghost Flame, but it's clearly a unique version with a much more saturated blue color. I am very glad they slightly buffed this in the recent patch, because now it's actually viable. They increased the attack power and the frost buildup. I kinda like this thing, man. Used on a single target, you'll probably assume that this spell is straight doogie water. However, it is very effective against groups of enemies. It makes up for its lack of damage with a very wide AoE. If you catch them off guard, like this, the meteor, which slams into the ground, will catch the attention and entice enemies to walk towards it. So you can bait targets like a moth to a flame, like an Irish dude to a bag of potatoes. You lure them in. This deals magic damage and procs frost because it is Ghost Flame. Now, even though Mass of Putrescence is indeed a death sorcery, it is not boosted by Prince of Death Staff. I don't know why. It's kind of fucking bullshit in my opinion, but okay, that's fine. Alright, totally fine. Land of Shadows. I believe this is very similar to Golden Stars. You can, launch it out at the start of a fight, it'll blast off, supporting you as you charge in. Meanwhile, Land of Shadow is basically a smaller, faster version of that. They improved its enemy tracking in the recent patch, which is nice, but it seriously needed a damage increase as well. The very long animation means you cannot cast it up close. It's definitely intended to be a long distance sniper type attack. However, all that shit talking being said, it's not useless. You can use it to create space or use it while hiding behind something. Like I said, it's basically a smaller, faster version of Golden Stars and has incredible range. That's one thing it does excel at. It shoots a very far distance. Furious Blade of Ansbach. The recent patch increased its attack power and fixed the bug that prevented it from proccing bleed, so now it is good to go. Dealing around 250 blood loss in total. It's not a spell that you want to continue spamming. It's only truly effective when it's fully charged up and used properly. I believe its forward burst makes this totally useful to start a fight. Begin the engagement by charging forwards. Lots of people will compare this with Blood Flame Talons because they are indeed similar. Well, I say combine them for a double bloodbath. Fully charge up Furious Blade from a distance, launch yourself forwards, and then follow up with the Blood Flame Talons. Boom. Guaranteed blood loss proc, and decent damage. Though I do believe Blood Flame Talons is definitely superior overall. But as I said before, Furious Blade is not meant to be spammed. You're supposed to capitalize on its forward burst movement. Ladies and jabronis, listen up. Are you a broke ass bitch like me?
You're broke! You're f***ing poor!
Well, fret not, my friend, because I found the jackpot for gamers like us. It's called Instant Gaming, and it can provide huge discounts for you when you buy games. Modern AAA games are usually bumping $60, $70 price tags, but nope, not Instant Gaming. You can pre-order Black Myth right now for $50. Also, you can pre-order Dragon Ball Sparking Zero or grab Shadow of the Erdtree if you haven't already. They have an awesome lineup of many Souls-like games. Remnant 2, Lies of P, Ghost of Tsushima, Monster Hunter, all that, and all at a price lower than anywhere else you'll find. Plus, even discounts for game cards and subscriptions. They have excellent reviews on Trustpilot, 24/7 customer support. I myself purchased a couple games from here to make sure it's reliable before doing a partnership with them. And yes sir, they are solid. I solely use this website whenever I need to purchase anything video game related. So use my special link below to go check them out. You will be saving money and supporting my channel, which I greatly appreciate. So it's a win-win. S tier, getting into S tier. Roar of Rugelia. Even after the buff, this spell isn't incredible. The saving grace on this is the speed, the low FP cost, and the range. The AoE does have a decent radius. You can connect to enemies surprisingly far away, which is very much needed considering you get barely any hyper armor. I mean, you turn into a fucking giant screaming bear, yet you get smacked on your ass with the puff of a sneeze? Come on, man, that's not cool. Getting smacked out of this doesn't even frustrate me. It just makes me sad, man. It just makes me sad. Though it is worth equipping into your arsenal for staggering smaller enemies, the recent patch buffed the poise damage that it deals up to about 40 stance damage in total, which is pretty damn good. But it did not enhance your hyper armor while performing it, which in my opinion was really the main issue. Though against a group of small scrubs that can easily stagger, that is the true situation in which this is effectively worth using. I gotta give it style points though for sure. Perfect for those thematic cosplayer builds. Like if I was cosplaying as a shape-shifting druid or maybe your grandmother, I would definitely use this spell. Glintstone Nails. This is a finger sorcery. I mean, yo, does that literally look like Emperor Palpatine's fingers or is it just me? Both Glintstone Nail and Nails were both great spells even before the recent patch, in which they buffed the attack power and the tracking a notable amount. So after the buff, this might be one of the best go-to spells in the game now. In every spellcaster build, you always need something quick, reliable to fall back on, and use for a majority of situations. Simple, solid, like your main spell that you use in combat. Well, glintstone nails can fit this role. What I love is how even if they miss, they skirt and turn around and try again to connect with your target. You'll notice that the glintstone nails only does slightly more damage compared to the single glintstone nail. However, the multiple nails deals much more stance damage. The nails can deal 24 stance damage in total, so keep that in mind. But for straight raw damage, the single nail is most effective. They are chargeable, boosted by the maternal staff and the finger maiden robes, so optimized correctly, they can be quite powerful. Rings of Spectral Light. This is a Ghost Flame spell. Recently received a minor buff to its attack power and frost buildup. Nothing crazy, but it did help solidify this as a spell worth using. In my opinion, it's very similar to the Ancient Death Raincore. They are both spammable, Ghost Flame spells that proc frost and can track the enemy. Ancient Death Rancor is a bit slower, slightly more expensive, and deals slightly more damage and more frost buildup. So Spectral Light is like the faster, more spammy version, costing about 30% less FP. Though I feel like Spectral Rings of Light has superior tracking. I mean, these dudes are stubborn, they never give up. They will skirt in different directions 2-3 times to reach their target. But just like Massive Putrescence, this does not receive a damage boost from Prince of Death Staff, even though it's a death sorcery. Bullshit. However, Gravebird Helm does buff Rings of Spectral Light damage by 15%, so that's something to keep in mind. Bale's Tyranny and Bale's Flame Lightning. It was quite disappointing to see they did not buff these incantations because they are so close to being fucking epic. Powerful spells worthy of being what you receive from Bale's Remembrance. Because dude, Bale is an incredible, iconic, difficult boss. You would hope his Remembrance spells live up to his epicness. And they're cool, but they're not amazing. Now you should know that Bale's Tyranny is boosted by Talisman of Dread, but is not boosted by Roar Medallion. In my opinion, they seriously need to fix the hitbox or at least widen the range of its AoE. Because at the moment, the only way it's truly viable is to dive right up in the enemy's butthole and perform the spell from inside of it. So you must be on top of the target to connect it. It deals good damage and grants you hyper armor, but it does not grant you damage reduction, so you're just eating up all that damage while performing this. Then we have Bale's Flame Lightning. This spell is pretty dope, but it could be a lot better. Like, this could have been spectacular, man. Spectacular. It's a shame, because if you compare it pound for pound, Dragon's Maw is better. Like, you got Bale's Flame Lightning can deal more damage, has a bit more range and wider AoE, so it's easier to connect to the attack, but Dragon's Maw costs less FP, has better hyper armor, is a bit faster, and deals a ton more stance damage. Dragon's Maw is much better at breaking stance. Also, Bale's takes so fucking long to recover. Like, yo, Dragon Maw, you can roll right out of it almost immediately. But, nope, not Bale's. You sit there for a moment just admiring the work you've done after performing the attack. Just waiting to get slapped and eat up all that damage. However, Dragon's Maw does not have more style. No sir, there's nothing spicier than Flame Lightning. Although this spiciness causes a big problem for these spells. Because being Flame Lightning looks cool and sounds cool, however this split damage causes an issue when you're trying to buff your attack. Like, if it was solely fire type damage, then Flame Grant Me Strength, Flame Crack Tear, all the fire type buffs would be much more effective. Though I will say again, you can get some crazy high damage output on these bad boys, so they do indeed have potential. Ghost Flame Breath. This deals magic type damage and procs frost. It does about 250 frost buildup in total. These Frost Dragon Breath spells are actually super effective because it adds the magic damage type plus adds frost buildup to your arsenal, granting your build more diversity and a wider range of attack options. Now, this Ghost Flame Breath is essentially a middle ground between Borealis Mist, proccing Frost, and Smaragd's Breath, dealing magic damage. It's like a combination of the two. It deals less frost buildup than Borealis Mist, though it deals slightly more damage and costs less FP. It only takes 36 FP to cast compared to Borealis Mist costing 48. Now that makes a huge difference in my opinion. Also, of course, it gets a fat stack of style points. Undead Zombie Dragon spewing Ghost Flame Garlic Breath. My goddamn dude, that's fire. That's fire! Super thematic. Hell yeah, boy, Glintblade Trio. The original Magic Glintblade was a classic, and now they give us a triple whammy version, and yo, everyone knows that 3 is better than 1, right? I mean, that's simple math, that is just science.
Yes, science!
Well, nope, wrong. 3 is not better than 1. You can see the single Glintblade deals about 1,000 damage, meanwhile the Glintblade Trio only deals 1,500 damage. So, the Trio is about 50% slower, costs 50% more FP, and deals about 50% more damage. But considering the original Magic Glintblade can be cast in succession much quicker, I believe the single Glintblade is superior compared to the new Trio. They even buffed its attack power in the recent patch, which was much needed because even now the damage isn't incredible. Before we enter the God tier, please body slam on that like button if you are enjoying the video. Rain of Fire. Thank the Lord this incantation was buffed, because it was hot dookie dog water doo-doo trash. Like, it was about to become a meme in the community for being so useless. It was more useless than my social skills. You know what I'm saying? Like never ever being used.
Hi, how are you?
So they increased the damage and its attack speed. It's still not overpowered, but at least it's viable and fulfills its purpose. It's essentially the incantation version of Rain of Stars. It has great range. You can target the enemy from a safe, far distance. So, you pop it out at the start of a fight, and it'll give you wide AoE support, especially effective against larger enemies or a group. If you're really a straight up G, you'll use its animation to duck under and dodge attacks. I mean, the fact that it has such far range is important. That is vital, because it's not super effective for close combat. However, you could still use it by free aiming downwards to give you AoE support against enemies charging at you. Blades of Stone. It's a gravity spell which deals solid physical damage for only 18 FP cost. The recent patch buffed everything. Its attack power, its range, speed, all that. This was a much needed buff and it's a pretty damn good spell now. Blades of Stone is very useful, very fun, low FP cost, and you can spam it all day. Gravitational Missile. Though this is a gravity spell, it deals magic damage, not physical. It is not overpowered by any means, considering it doesn't have crazy high damage, nor is it too quick. Like, if you want the full effect, you must fully charge it up, which does take a good moment of time to pull off, but it's still a very solid choice to have in your arsenal of spells. Also, I give this bonus points for its combo potential. Being that it sucks enemies in, retains them in place, you can combo this spell with other sorceries for fun and powerful combos, such as Blades of Stone. It's especially effective against enemies that can stagger, because if they are them frail ass, weak ass little bitches that can stagger, then those are the type that can be trapped in the middle. A quick tip, if you free aim your camera and direct it towards the ground or a wall, it will explode immediately upon contact. So if an ugly ass gremlin is running up in your personal space, aim this spell downwards and it'll instantly explode. It has a giant AoE, so this can be quite effective and used for different purposes. Fleeting Microcosm. Here we have another finger sorcery. Now what's so special is that enemies do not dodge it, which can be very helpful against those certain enemies who just love moving around like a crackhead whenever they see the smallest projectile heading their direction. Yeah, I'm looking at you, you stanky bitch. but it's most effective when you come across unsuspecting enemies. You can whip this out and hit them hard. It'll knock them down, killing the enemy before they even knew what happened. It's also perfect for combos with other spells. Considering it's slightly delayed, you can cast this, then immediately cast another spell, like, Glintstone Nails, and both will contact the enemy simultaneously, dealing a chunk of damage. Here's a quick tip. Unlock your camera and free aim this in order to bait the target into the explosion. It works like a charm. Giant Golden Arc. Deals very good damage for such a simple, quick casting holy spell. It moves slowly, but it does have a great wide arc, perfect for enemies that love to dodge, or against groups of enemies. It cost too much FP though, in my opinion. If it had a cheaper FP cost, then I certainly would have ranked it much higher, because you can cast it so quickly, it's perfect for spamming, but it's expensive. However, we also have the Golden Arcs. Now you should know the Golden Arcs can deal 15 stance damage in total, and considering how quickly you can spam it, you can stack up poise damage pretty well and break stance. So keep that in mind. They both have a unique, viable purpose. Mesmer's Orb. Here we have the most pulchritudinous fiery death balls I ever seen. I was really hoping for them to increase the hyper armor in the recent patch, but nope. Tragic, because it has trash hyper armor. Like, that's the one and only problem with the spell. In order to perform it correctly, you need that moment to slam down and then explode. However, a puff of breath could knock you out of the animation prior to exploding. Like, there is no reason to look this badass just to get interrupted by the enemy giving you a high five. Like, come on, man, come on. What you want to do is stagger the target when you thrust the orb down, giving you that moment of time to explode. It has the damage, it has the style. This attack had to be influenced by anime. The anime gods are smiling down upon this incantation. On top of the amazing fire damage, it also deals about 40 stance damage. Yes sir, around 40 poise damage in total, easily breaking enemy stance. It is unique, it's useful, very effective to begin the engagement with an enemy, knocking them off their feet. Fire Serpent. About 1000 damage per shot? Nice, okay. Great tracking with far range? Yeah, you love to see it. Super spammable because it's fast with a low FP cost? My god, this thing's a fucking beast. Like, dude, Fire Serpent might be even better than Black Flame, considering it costs 30% less FP and is just as stylish and badass. You toss this onto any Faith build and it will be viable and useful, let alone a Pyro build that truly optimizes it with all the correct equipment, such as Mesmer's Helm, Fire Knight Armor, and Fire Knight's Seal. Fantastic spell, god tier for sure. Ayo, comment down below, which is more badass, Black Flame or Mesmer Fire? Which is cooler? Comment below your thoughts, Black Flame or Mesmer Flame? The multi-layered Rings of Light, aka Destructo Disc. My boy finally got the Krillin build on lock.
This is going to be so cool!
This is actually one of the best holy damage incantations in the game. Combat-wise, this excels in both single target and crowd damage, since it acts as a goddamn giant buzzsaw that sticks to the first target it hits and keeps damaging. Faith builds of any type should not sleep on this. 23 FP cost is not much at all for its high damage. Plus, it has great range, like fantastic range. I cast this spell, I said, wow, look at that range. It's just a giant, more expensive version of Discus of Light. However, it does not require intelligence. That is most effective against small enemies that you can stagger and stun lock, or larger big boy enemies. You can use it for mounted combat, which is awesome against the large field bosses like dragons. Quick tip, you can aim it downwards at the ground and it'll stick in place, essentially granting you a buzzsaw of protection. Very solid addition to Holy Faith builds. Knight's Lightning Spear. Let's fucking go, baby! One of the strongest poise damage spells. It's dealing at least 30 stance damage in total, which is kind of insane for a swift, long-range spell like this. The fact this excels in breaking stance allows you to perform the most deadly spell combo ever. You break stance with Lightning Spear, then follow up with Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike while they are down. Electric Avenue that bitch to the underworld. If properly optimized with all the right equipment, it deals incredible damage. I will say, the original single Lightning Spear can deal comparable damage, it's faster, and cost less FP, so it might seem more efficient overall. However, it does not deal comparable stance damage. That poise damage makes a big difference here. As far as overall speed, effectiveness, everything considered, this might be the best lightning spell in the game, potentially best new incantation from the DLC. Competing with this next naughty boy, the Pest Thread Spears. Yo, we thought the original Pest Threads was broken, but this thing comes along, plopping its balls on the table, looking like Pest Threads on steroids. It might be a tad bit slower to fully charge, but overall, much higher damage. This can shred through any big boy enemies. Having issues with a big-ass dragon? Well, melt through his deformed, ugly dragon ass with some spider webs. Now don't forget to check out Instant Gaming to save yourself a ton of money when buying games. To be honest, dude, I use this website for everything now whenever I need to buy games. So drop a fat like on this video if you made it this far, and subscribe for more awesome content like this. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later.